Hello, everybody. I want to welcome you all to a very special event, the ISEC Outstanding Consumer Lecture Award. This is a really special event for me. In each and every conference has always been, not only because it's a really very special achievement to prepare a lecture for persons who use AAC, but it's always been a report of developments, experiences, and achievements that are extraordinary. And before I hand over to John Costello, who I want to thank for all his efforts over all the years in preparing this award and conducting it. Thank you very much. I hope you can. He will provide you with more information about the background of the prize. But I want to add that former recipients of the prize became later leaders in ISEC. And maybe this will be true for other recipients now and in the future. And with this, thank you, and I hand over to you, John.
Thank you. Am I live? I am live. Welcome. It is such a pleasure. It's such a pleasure and such an honor to be part of this lecture. And I want to give you a little bit of history about this lecture before I turn it over to Glenda. But it's particularly an honor as I think about this being the 26th year, the 13th biennial Outstanding Consumer Lecture. So Glenda's topic, which I will comment on again in a few minutes, Finding Your Dream, the North Star for Your Life's Journey, is something that I think that you will agree. Glenda not only challenges all of us to dream, but really encourages us to think about how to achieve that dream. So before I hand over to Glenda, I want to give you an idea of how this lectureship evolved. In 1991, Walt Woltos, who was the founder of Words Plus, had said to Isaac and to many people, you know what? Enough of when someone who uses augmentative communication lectures, enough of people paying attention to how did he do that? What technology was that? And really not paying attention to the content. And often not really giving a platform for people who use AAC to truly share their talents and strengths. So Walt had said, I want to initiate an outstanding consumer lecture that began with our 1992 conference. What was important then, what is important now, is that this lecture and the person who delivers it is not talking about AAC, that they're not talking about their experience with AAC. They're not talking about how augmentative communication has changed my life. And by the way, those topics are really important, and we all value hearing that, but not for this platform. That people are not talking about my life with disability or how they have overcome hardships with disability. Instead, what Walt and what Isaac has embraced for the past quarter of a century has been that this lecture is about someone sharing their talents, their expertise, really, in some instances, their scholarly endeavors, interests or opinions with really broad human interest or social significance. So let me tell you a bit about sort of the process. The process has been that we have solicited, Isaac has solicited both in publications and online submissions for this lecture. Then the guidelines are posted for submission. Up to 4 former presenters of initially the Words Plus Isaac Consumer Lecture and now the Outstanding Consumer Lecture are part of the review committee, and then we move forward to this day. I want to comment on the fact that this time, and I also want to issue a challenge to people who use augmentative communication, to people who know folks who use augmentative communication, who would sort of fit the bill as we've described. So this time around we had 5 really high quality submissions from 3 different countries. In the past, we've had 14, 15 or more. And so while we were kind of curious, what is it that we can do to make sure that chapters and members are really keeping this in mind? So offline, if you've got ideas about what we can do to make sure the word gets out, please let me know, let Franklin know, and others. So what I'd like to do now is let you know that in addition to this lecture being a platform where it is an unopposed lecture, there's also this little additional bonus of a $5,000 Canadian cash award. Now, and you did really well, because yesterday you were like cheering when we were talking about this. I want to talk a bit about the legacy and then end here. So from 92 to 94, we have had this incredibly rich legacy. And as the years go on, I have to do this faster so I don't use all of the time. 92, Mick Joyce, and you can see his topic there, Finding Love and Relationships in the 20th Century. Paul Marshall, a Canadian, in 1994, Value of Faith and Family. Michael Williams in 1996, Literacy and Education, A Foundation to Success. Meredith Allen, our president-elect. Feminism, Language, and Culture, 1998. Heather Rose Slattery in 2000, writing and starring in a very provocative film honored at the Cannes Film Festival. Solomon Rachman, 2002, Opportunities in a Communistic versus Democratic Governance. Sayamdeb Mukherjee, 2004, Spirituality Realized Through Nature. Yusun Chung, Motherhood, the Greatest Life Achievement. India Oaks, To Be or Not to Be, Using Our Rights, Supporting Our World. Boris Sandemel, Philosophy of Mathematics. Lisa Lehman, Intimacy as a Human Need. And Fiona Given, in 2014, A Journey of Discovery to the Last Frontier, an adventure in the Antarctica. It gives me such pleasure now to turn over to Glenda Watson Hyatt, our 2016 Outstanding Consumer Lecturer.
Thank you, John, for your kind introduction. And thank you, Isaac community, for this opportunity to take you on the journey to find your dream, your life's North Star. Let's begin today's journey with some stargazing. Imagine sitting outside on a beautiful summer's night, much like last night, and looking up at the starry sky. Your eye may be drawn to the brightly shining North Star. For our friends from the Southern Hemisphere, the Southern Cross might more easily come to your mind's eye. For thousands of years, humans have relied on these stars, the North Star and the Southern Cross, to guide their journeys. Travelers may have taken side trips or detours, experienced unplanned adventures along the way, but that bright light shining from the heavens above has always guided them back on course. Our dreams, our aspirations, are the North Star for our lives, guiding us through our journeys. Please allow me to share one example from my own life. Back when I was about 11 or 12 years old and was reading books like Johnny, Ice Castles, Other Side of the Mountain, the very few books available back then written by, or about people with disabilities, I had this desire, this dream, to, one day, someday, write a book about my life to help other people, like these books had helped me, to know that I wasn't alone in going through the stuff I was going through. Keep in mind that as a kid, the thought of writing a book was beyond imaginable. When writing a 500-word book report for school involved the arduous task of plunking away on an electric typewriter with only my left thumb. Such an assignment took days. Yet, the thought, which lived in my imagination where the task of writing my story was not grueling, was also exciting and terrifying at the same time. Unlike now when several of my friends and colleagues had written books, back then I didn't personally know a single author. With this dream carefully tucked away in my mind, I began tucking away mementos in my bedroom. For when I began writing my story, one day, life continued. I graduated from high school. My family moved to a rural area in the interior of British Columbia. I started taking the Certified General Accountant program by correspondence, thinking that, upon completion, I would start my own home-based accounting business. All the while my dream of writing my book was softly calling to me, beckoning not to be forgotten. Halfway through the 4-year accounting program, I realized I needed to do some more living before I could write my book. I needed more material. Besides, working on boring accounting assignments in my bedroom, long before the internet, as we know it today, and stuck 20 miles from town, I realized I needed more in my life. Actually, I needed a life. After some research and some quick decision-making, I found myself living in a one-bedroom apartment in student residence, attending Simon Fraser University atop Burnaby Mountain, 6 hours from home. As the semesters ticked by, I chose to complete a psychology major because I was fascinated by how the brain works, or doesn't work. I also decided to do a publishing minor because I figured it'd be useful for my intended direction as a writer, an author, one day. With only a few courses remaining, I discovered that the last courses required for my publishing minor were only offered at the downtown campus, which, at that time, was an inaccessible bus ride away. I was totally discouraged, disappointed and furious. I felt my dream slipping away. Much later, long after the fact, I realized that switching my minor from publishing to communication was a mere detour, a side trip. My journey continued. I married a wonderfully supportive and loving man, Daryl. We celebrated our 18th wedding anniversary last Tuesday. I launched my own business as a web accessibility consultant, bought a condo and completed several work contracts. Gradually and slowly, my North Star became brighter, closer. I started writing. One sentence, one paragraph, one page at a time. On a good writing day, I managed to write 500 words, typing on a computer keyboard, with a delete button, and word prediction software, is much easier than when I was that child, using a typewriter with a key guard. Days or weeks would go by before my next good writing day. 4 years later, typing one word, one sentence, one paragraph, one chapter, at a time, by following my North Star dream at my own pace, I had nearly 50,000 words filling 73 pages. After much research and thought, I decided to self-publish because finding a traditional publisher was a part-time job in itself, and I was eager to get the book into the hands of readers. December 2006, 1 month after my 40th birthday, 7 boxes of books were delivered. Tears of joy streamed down my cheeks as I carefully cut open the top box and laid my eyes on my book, my baby, for the first time. After all of the years of thinking, asking questions, researching, writing, asking more questions and doing more research, more writing and editing, my dream had finally come true. I had written and self-published my book, titled, I'll Do It Myself, about my life to help others so they know they are not alone in living with a disability. I spent the next several months, and years, trying to sell my books, which proved harder than I realized, as is evidenced by the 2 boxes still sitting in my living room, nearly 10 years later. After all, my dream was to write my book, not to actually sell it. I even managed to make I'll Do It Myself available on the Amazon Kindle. The response from readers, the thank you notes, comments and even photos that I received, were indeed rewarding and fulfilling. Lives were touched. People were inspired and helped. The dream that I had as a young girl had been achieved. When enough time had passed, I began feeling restless. I felt lost. Up until this point, my dream had guided me through my life, guided many of my decisions, like initially choosing a publishing minor over, say, a minor in history. But now, with my book published, I was without a direction or purpose. Of course, I had goals. Goals like paying off the mortgage, building a successful business and traveling with my husband, but nothing enormous. No North Star. I needed a new dream. But, how does one find a dream? How does one know if it is, indeed, a dream? That got me thinking. The North Star consists of layers of gases, mostly hydrogen and helium, the 2 lightest elements. With that in mind, what are the elements of a dream? Before I share the elements of a dream, allow me to clarify the difference between a dream and a wish, or fantasy. In her book, Dreamer, American singer-songwriter, actress, author, businesswoman, and humanitarian Dolly Parton differentiates between dreams and wishes in this way: do not confuse dreams and wishes. There's a difference. Dreams are where you visualize yourself being successful at what's important to you to accomplish. And dreams build convictions, because you work hard to pay the price to make sure that they come true. Wishes are hoping that good things will happen to you. With wishes, there is no fire in your gut, pushing you to the limit to overcome every obstacle to reach your heart's desire. Winning the mega lottery and living happily ever after is, quite likely, a wish, a fantasy, which is fun to have. Dreams are, for the most part, achievable, eventually, and they drive you forward. With much thought, some reading, and a little creativity thrown in for fun, I have discovered the elements of a dream, which I would love to share with you. A dream consists of 5 elements. All 5 elements need to be present for a dream to be alive. The first element of a dream is that it must be enormous, bold, audacious. Imagine the North Star for a moment. It isn't the palest star in the sky, but rather, the brightest one, that is saying, "Here I am. Follow me." A dream is way bigger than a goal. Although setting and achieving goals may eventually lead you to reaching your dream. I came across this quote online, which is rather fitting: "Dreams come a size too big, so we can grow into them." I'd slightly revise that: dreams are often several sizes too big. It is important to keep in mind that size is relative to each individual. What might be enormous for one person might not be quite as big to another. For example, a trip around the world, which might be a huge dream for most of us here, might not be audacious to someone who owns an airplane, or his own airline. The second element of a dream is a minuscule dose of reality, written in very fine print. Let me give you an example. Some of us might dream of playing in the NBA, the Men's Professional Basketball League in North America, or the WNBA, the Women's Professional Basketball League in the United States. We might spend countless hours every day for years practicing shooting hoops and dribbling. Some of us might even excel at the dribble. But the reality is, no matter how hard we practice, how badly we want it, or how deeply committed we are to the dream, many of us here, most of us here, will never become a professional basketball player. That is just reality. Although, that isn't to say that a passion for basketball couldn't be embraced in other ways. For example, as a sports photographer, journalist or broadcaster, an agent or manager, a basketball, memorabilia retailer, or even a raving fan. The possibilities are endless. However, and let me stress the word, however, on occasion, what is not reality or not possible today might become reality tomorrow. A new technology might be developed, a new discovery might be found, a new skill might be learned, a new opportunity might come along, making your dream now possible to achieve. Therefore, although dreams require a dose of reality, as in the dream of one of us becoming an NBA player, keep in mind it is a teeny tiny dose because, as I will demonstrate in a few moments, what is not possible today might become possible tomorrow. So far, we know that a dream is enormous in size and contains a minuscule dose of reality. The third element of a dream is that it presses us to grow and expand beyond our comfort zones. When our dream first comes to us, we will not know how to accomplish it. More than likely it will make us feel uncomfortable or even fearful because it will push us to stretch, to grow, to learn, to step out of our safe comfort zones. Along our journey, we gain experiences, insights, skills and talents that, in turn, become necessary in reaching our destination, accomplishing our dream. Our dreams press us to become more of who we are, more of what we are capable of. Keep in mind the words of civil rights activist and former president of South Africa, Nelson Mandela: "There is no passion to be found playing small, in settling for a life that is less than the one you are capable of living." This brings us to the fourth element, which ties into the first one, and that is because a dream is so enormous in size, it requires, actually, it demands, other individuals be involved. We cannot accomplish our dream alone. If one person can accomplish a dream alone, then it isn't big enough. not bold and audacious enough. The supporting characters in our dream might be friends, family members, teachers, colleagues, mentors, coaches, spiritual and religious teachers and leaders. They might be people we are still to meet along our journey. They might live next door, in the next town, or halfway around the world. They might even be people we never meet, like famous authors, celebrities, musicians, leaders and such, whose words and works provide us with sustenance, food for thought and inspiration to help us keep going along our journey. Did you know the North Star is actually a constellation of 3 stars? The stars Polaris, A, B and C are of varying degrees of brightness. Together they make up what we see with our naked eye as the North Star. Even the North Star does not go it alone. It takes 3 stars to be as bright as the lone North Star appears. Be a constellation. Surround yourself with people who are excited and believe in your dream, and who contribute and lend support. Likewise, we also need to encourage and support the dreams of the people around us. The 5th and final element is our dreams ignite a spark, a passion within us, like a shining star. We smile and our eyes twinkle when we talk about our dreams. That passion, or as Dolly Parton puts it, that fire in our gut, will keep driving us forward, through the hard, lonely and frustrating times on our journeys, and, believe me, every journey has those moments. That passion in our hearts, that fire in our guts, that twinkle in our eyes will sustain us on our journey, and is necessary to achieve our dreams. Without passion, without that inner drive, a dream will not come alive. To recap the 5 elements of a dream is enormous in size, requires a teeny tiny dose of reality, presses us to grow and expand beyond our comfort zones, involves contribution and support from other people, and ignites a spark within us. Back to my search for my new dream. Now that I had figured out what a dream was, what a dream consisted of, life carried on while I continued searching for my next dream. Before I get to sharing my next dream, may I let you in on a little secret? I am terrified of heights. The mere thought fills me with panic, my stomach flips and my hands sweat. Can you relate? With this intense fear, I was surprised by my secret thrill in watching other people zip line across downtown Vancouver during the 2010 Winter Olympic and Paralympic Games. I thought they were crazy, in an exciting, heart-pounding kind of way. I happened to mention this in an email to my friend Karen. We have been friends since Brownies and Girl Guides. I have since learned that if you have a fear, you probably shouldn't mention it to anyone. One day your friend may entice, cajole, or blackmail you to conquer it. Karen had heard Vancouver's former mayor with quadriplegia, Sam Sullivan, had ziplined a few days earlier, somehow skipping the 6 to 8 hour lineup. She inquired if anyone could bypass the hours-long lineup, or if that privilege was reserved for a select, connected few. They assured her it could be arranged for the right reasons, so she secured an appointment for us to go zipping 140 feet above downtown crowds and traffic without the wait. Now that is a true friend, I think. Thankfully our date with fate was only 3 days hence. Enough time to put affairs in order, tell my loved ones that I loved them, and endure a few nightmares about falling, and splattering on unsuspecting people below. My rational brain was trying hard to convince my scared brain everything would be okay, that several thousands of others had already done this zip line without incident. That the zip line company had a vested interest in ensuring I reached the other side safely, without splatting on the ground and the unwary people below. Imagine the headline: Disabled woman falls to her death at popular Winter Olympic attraction. Definitely not good for business. My cousin Craig came to town for the day to help me climb those 81 stairs. When he was handed a waiver to sign, he realized, with surprise and trepidation, he was about to do more than he anticipated. The look on his face was unforgettable. Climbing up the tower took us a while. I was recovering from bronchitis and we were all out of breath by the second landing. We paused every 2 landings to catch our collective breath and to let others pass. Those 81 stairs took us 30 minutes to ascend. The thin fabric screen wrapped around the tower provided me a false sense of security as we climbed. It wasn't an open height. No need to be terrified, not yet. Besides, climbing the now endless tower of stairs kept my mind off of what was about to come. A distraction like that is a great way to ease fear. Upon reaching the summit and seeing the vast openness that was 140 feet above the people, buses and cars, sheer terror quickly set in. I plunked down on an upside-down milk crate to catch my breath and allowed a few other people to go ahead and experience their scared, spitless moment. Sitting on the overturned crate, my brain's 2 parts were still dueling it out. In that moment, I had 2 options: go back down the way we came, or face my fear and go beyond. Karen and Craig seemed scared too, considering what they, too, were about to do. But there was an unspoken peer pressure, or perhaps, it was trust. Karen and I have been friends since we were 7-year-old brownies. She's quirky at times, but I knew in my heart she wouldn't put us in danger. Craig too had no reason to see me harmed. And none of us wanted to chicken out. Right there, on that milk crate, the rational part of my brain won. I decided to allow myself to be terrified, but to keep going. Craig went first, so there was someone on the other side to help catch me. The staff told Craig it was acceptable to scream. He obliged as he zipped 140 feet above the crowds. Then came my turn. While the staff calmly hooked my harness to the lines above, I was thinking, yes, I am terrified. This is the scariest thing I have ever done. But, I can do it. I can push through my fears and survive. Hopefully. They helped me down those 4 stairs to nothingness, and off I flew. All that I remember from those several seconds of flying above the people and cars many feet below is that I was too terrified to move. My legs stayed stiff as a board out in front of me and I held on to that rope for dear life. Everything else is a blur. I'm happy to report that all 3 of us reached the other side safely. You know, I kind of expected to have a life-altering revelation upon my safe landing, but it did not happen. Not at that point. In that moment I felt greatly relieved I had not met my maker. That shift was to come later. In the months following my scared, spitless moment, I reassessed my work as a web accessibility consultant, making websites accessible to people with all kinds of disabilities. Web accessibility was an understandable career path for me, and there is still much left to be done in the field, but, after 14 years, I felt so burned out, that if I had to explain the need for text descriptions of images one more time, I would stab my eyes out with a yellow HB pencil. Yes, a sharp, long, yellow one. That defining moment gave me permission to switch my career direction entirely, and to birth a bold, new dream of becoming a motivational speaker. To inspire people who are silently screaming, "There's more to me." And, yet, they are standing in their own way from moving forward. That was it. My new dream. To become a motivational speaker. Unlike my initial dream, which was to write a book, not necessarily to write and sell it, this time around I knew to specify well-paid, motivational speaker. I share my dream not to speak at length about myself, but rather to demonstrate the 5 elements of a dream. A well-paid, internationally known, motivational speaker. Let's test to see if that dream contains all of the elements. First, is my dream enormous in size? Yes, most definitely. It was, and still is, beyond comprehension. It is not something I will accomplish next week, next month, or even next year. It will be quite a journey getting there. In fact, it has already been quite a journey getting to this point, and I know I am only getting started. Where I will eventually end up, I have absolutely no clue. And that is part of the magic of a dream. It truly is a journey. My dream is enormous in size. Check. Second, does my dream contain a minuscule dose of reality? Me, a motivational speaker? Who would have guessed it? In high school, public speaking was my second least likely career choice. My absolute least likely choice was neurosurgery. Can you imagine me performing surgery on your brain? But with motivational speaking, I can get inside your mind using my well-honed words rather than a scalpel. Much safer. But, seriously, me a professional speaker? Let's get real. Up until that point, I had delivered several presentations using a mashup of PowerPoint, scrolling captions and embedded audio. The process for creating one of these presentations was cumbersome and tedious, taking upwards of 50 hours to create a 20 to 30-minute speech. Although it was doable, I could not imagine building a speaking career using such a time-consuming and mind-numbing process. But, do you remember how I said earlier that a new technology, a new discovery, new skill or a new opportunity might make your dream now possible to achieve? Well, even though that is a whole other lecture, it is suffice to say that a new device and a new app were, indeed, life-changing, making my dream of becoming a motivational speaker more realistic, more possible. My dream has a teeny dose of reality. Check. Third, does my dream of becoming a motivational speaker push me to expand beyond my comfort zone? Oh, yes, beyond belief. It is interesting. The first barrier I had to overcome was my own perception of what a professional speaker is and looks like. In my mind, such a speaker moves with graceful, intentional movement, has a strong stage presence and, most obvious, speaks using her own natural voice. Obviously, that description does not fit me, and I know that. Sometimes we are our own biggest barrier. In order to proceed and to succeed, we must get out of our own way and get on with being all of who we are meant to be. Becoming a motivational speaker has meant changing my perception, my mental image of what that looks like for me, and how I can become that, on my own terms. And that is still something I am working on, poking at and practicing, which is all part of the journey. Even though the shift has been extremely uncomfortable at times, as I have been continually pushed well beyond my comfy and familiar comfort zone, I still feel this strong drive to continue. I know, beyond any reasonable doubt, that I have found the right dream, meant for me, at this point in my life. Once I made, and continue to make, that mind shift, then I could get on with learning what it takes to be a professional speaker, the art of speech writing and stage presence, the business side of speaking, tasks like networking, marketing, and booking speaking gigs. And let's not forget the most important part of speaking, the close. I mean, one needs to look good while on stage, right? Besides, finding clothes that I like, that I can afford, and that I can get on by myself, now there is a real challenge. All of this is still very much a work in process. One thing I have learned is that my learning will be ongoing. There will always be something more I need to or want to learn about the profession of speaking. My dream expands me beyond my comfort zone, definitely a big check. Fourth, does my dream involve others? Well, unless I want my audience to always consist of only my cat buddy, who does not pay well and would not get me known internationally, then, yes, other people need to be involved. I am fortunate and grateful to be surrounded by people who support me in my seemingly bizarre dream. Friends, colleagues, business coaches, fellow speakers, and, of course, my loving and supportive husband, all saw me as a speaker long before I did. I am fortunate and grateful. Take a look around at this beauty. Isaac audience with friends, colleagues, mentors, and friends yet to meet from many countries. By you being here today, you're helping me to becoming internationally known, and for that I am grateful. I thank you. And, to the audiovisual team who is working to make me sound great, I thank you. To achieve my dream, other people need to be involved. Check. Lastly, does my dream make me twinkle? Do my eyes light up when I talk about it? Am I passionate about being a speaker? I will let you decide. Do I check off this element too? This is my dream. Now it is your turn to consider yours, your North Star for the next portion of your life's journey. I invite you to close your eyes for a moment and imagine the North Star. For our friends from the south of the equator, imagine the Southern Cross. Imagine the dark night sky filled with countless stars of varying brightness. Most of the stars are quite dim, barely visible by the naked human eye. Several are brighter, attempting to trick or distract you from finding the North Star. But if you are still, and patient, and keep looking, the North Star stands out like no other star. Bold, bright and beautiful. Always ready to guide you in your journey. What is your dream, your North Star? Ideas may come to mind, some may be faint. Others may be tempting, trying to lure your mind in another direction. If you are still and patient, is there one that speaks the loudest to you? Is it so humongous, even a little frightening, that you're tempted to look away, to not acknowledge it? That is okay. Acknowledge it. Embrace it. You don't need to know the how right now. If it intrigues you, excites you, fascinates you, simply embrace it for now. And allow it to reveal more of itself to you over time. Or, perhaps, do you need to keep searching? Perhaps it will reveal itself to you when you least expect it, or, in another way, at another time. Perhaps you need to experience your own scared, spitless moment, whatever that is for you. For me, it was zip-lining across the downtown city block. Sometimes dreams reveal themselves over time. If this is the first time you have really considered what your dream is, it might not be super bright at the moment. That is totally okay. Your dream might not appear amidst this conference while you are meeting new people, taking in new ideas, and experiencing new sights. Your North Star might reveal itself once you're back home and back to your familiar routine. Pay attention to the little things you notice, the questions you stop to ponder, listen to your inner voice. I'd love to hear your dream, to be your cheerleader. Over the remaining time of the Isaac Conference, feel free to stop me anywhere, anytime, to share your dream. My wish for each and every one of you is an audacious and bold dream that guides you on an amazing journey. This journey that we call life. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Glenda. Really inspiring speech. And we all wish you the best on following your North Star, your new one. And of course, it's our challenge to find and follow our new star. And so I thank you for listening and for sharing. Thank you very much.
Tell you the truth, I forgot myself in all this excitement.
44 Magnum, the most powerful handgun in the world, and it could blow your head clean off. You have to ask yourself one question. Do I feel lucky? Well, do you? Hunk, hunk, hunk.